last 4 years, my team and I have made over $210 million for e-commerce brands through email marketing. No gimmicks, no hacks, just a repeatable system that works. And while there are some amazing tips and tricks and hacks that I'm going to be showing you in this video, the main thing I want to show you is a repeatable system that will work for your brand and really any brand for that matter. Most brands are running a basic email marketing setup, but they're leaving millions on the table every single year by not having a truly watertight system in place. In this video, I'm breaking down our full 8-figure email marketing system. No filler, no fluff, just exactly how we generate millions in revenue for our clients every single month. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as we can see here on screen, we have an 8-figure email marketing system for e-commerce brands, and we can see over $5 million being generated from one of our clients in just a 6-month period through email marketing alone. You can see who we are here. The two Connors from Kensington Media House. You can see this doc in the description, which will give you all of the guide there for free. You can see some of our better videos there also as well. The first thing we want to show you guys, because we're going through our 8-figure playbook, is proof that we're in the weeds doing this for clients every single day, and that these strategies are being battle tested on big lists every single day. Whatever we share with you is verified, and we eat our own cooking. We are always here with skin in the game, right? One of our clients here in a 6-month period, this is with 12-hour click attribution, not the standard 5-day click, 1-day view. If we were to have the typical attribution settings that most brands have in their Klaviyo, this would probably be more towards the 12 to like $15 million sort of range in terms of the revenue attributed. But for a lot of our bigger clients, especially clients that are spending a lot on multiple advertising platforms, we use really tight attribution in general, so we know exactly where things are coming from. So I mean, this is, probably really under attributing here, but we can see a 6-month period, $31 million in revenue. A lot of that coming from email. Same thing here for another bigger client of ours who are, also using 12-hour click attribution. This would probably be more towards like the $6-7 million range in terms of attributed revenue if we're kind of using the typical standard. And we can see here for one of our clients as well, not quite using 5-in-1 attribution, a little bit more narrow than that, but we can see $2 million in a 6-month period here, $5 million in a 6-month period here, almost $2 million in a 6-month period as well. So you can see here, this is actually stuff that we're doing all the time for our clients. All of these strategies I'm going to show you in this video are being battle tested all the time. This is fresh, recent knowledge. This is what is working today in email marketing here in 2025 and beyond. So let's get into step one. First step is that we want to grow a huge list, right? This is something I see every single week with the e-commerce brands I talk to. It is so many brands' Achilles heel. I see so many accounts every single month where basically they actually have a really solid structure in place in terms of their flows and campaigns, but their list growth, their list could probably be growing like twice as fast, sometimes even 3 times as fast with some of the brands that I speak to, right? You might, let's say, take a sign-up forms conversion rate from 3% to 5%. It seems like nothing, right? But you actually just increase the number of people who are coming through your welcome series by 66% by 2/3. And you're also increasing the rate of growth of your main list you're going to be sending campaigns to by 66%. That rate of growth has increased massively, right? So even a slight improvement here leads to massive effects down the line for your brand. If you take your sign up form from 4% to 4.8% in its conversion rate, you should be celebrating that. That is a huge win across the account. So we want to make sure here that we're growing our list with fresh people all the time. This is the fuel for our extremely important pre-purchase automations, and it's going to be the fuel for our campaigns. You will see actually a diminishing kind of return from mailing the same people over and over again. So we want to make sure that we're growing this campaigns list all the time, that we're getting kind of fresh life in there and keeping everything really fresh. So the main way we're going to do this is through a pop-up, right? Now, there are going to be 4 factors within our pop-up that we're going to be able to use in order to get the absolute most out of it, right? There's the offer, the timing, the design, and the sequence, right? So often I see pretty much all of these actually having room for growth in kind of the accounts that I speak to each week. So many people on the timing in particular. I see so many brands that have their pop-up come up right away, and it increases the bounce rate on their website by like 50%. You really want to delay that pop-up so you don't have bounce rate spike on the website. Doesn't matter how well your pop-up converts. If your bounce rate goes from 15% to 30% on the website, no amount of email revenue is going to make up for that, right? So we want to make sure that the pop-up is able to grab people's attention without being jarring, without getting them to leave the website, right? So many people will sometimes flex having a massive pop-up conversion rate, but it comes up right away and it's actually overall a net negative for the business. You want to delay this a good 8 to like 10 seconds really in most cases. If your website loads really quick, you can make it kind of pop up a little bit earlier, but it's generally safe to just delay that so we don't want to ruin that website experience. The offer, this is the highest leverage thing possible. A lot of brands actually give up way too much margin with the pop-ups that they run on their website. It's something I see really, really often is giving up far too much margin. Something that I'd like to eradicate in the e-commerce world because I think it could really help a lot of brands improve their profit margins. So we want to basically strike the balance between the highest conversion possible from a purchase's BOV while also reducing how much margin we give up as much as possible. So we're kind of looking for that intersection there. Design, we want to make the offer super prominent. We want to make this pop-up kind of built in such a way where when someone sees the pop-up without having to read or really expend any sort of mental effort, they can look at the pop-up and know instantly what's in it for them. The sequence, I'm going to show you a couple of tricks of human psychology here. So here's an example of a strong pop-up. This is really optimized from a margin perspective because, you know, if you're in a higher AOV but lower purchase frequency archetype, this is something that you've heard me speak about on the channel before. If you subscribe to the channel, we're going to be doing an archetypes mega guide of how to tailor email marketing to your brand archetype. But you can see here, this is a giveaway offer where if you're, you know, a big brand as this brand is, well, you're only giving up £1,000 in a month. Whereas if you were to do 5% and let's say through your welcome series, you do over £1 million in that month, well, you're now giving up 50 grand. So you've just saved yourself £45,000 in terms of P&L here, right? So for a brand like that, we want to be giving up very little margin because it doesn't have the sort of repeat purchase capability that, let's say, a supplement or fragrance brand would, for example, right? We see here another high ticket example, like a high AOV store. We want to go with kind of a really, really small offer here, 5% or maybe even like $1 amount off. So it could be like $50 off orders 1,000 and above. I love those offers in these higher AOV cases because it basically, if someone spends $2,000, they only get 2.5%. So it caps that amount. It's not like the 5% scales. Here in an apparel example that we made, you can see here 10% off for this brand. This brand has amazing repeat purchase kind of capability. 10% off is fine if it helps us acquire a customer, really, because this brand, they release a lot of new products all the time, which is really, really good. But yeah, this pop-up converted really, really well. Another higher ticket example, $50 off orders 500 and above. So it caps at a 10%, but if they spend $1,000, they only get $5 off. And then here kind of for a jewelry brand that has really good repeat purchase capability because of how often they do new releases, we have a 15% off strategy here, right? So look at this, right? I want to show you this yes, no question. You're probably seeing this in all cases. I've only ever seen it in like 1 or 2 cases where this yes, no question didn't make things better. This is the sequence that I'm talking about. The sequence, split it up like below to kind of get the best conversions possible. Someone will click this, then the email form will show up, then they'll pop in their email, then the next form will show up will be the SMS form, and then the final form will just give them their code and go from there. So we go from step to step to step to step, and that's really what helps us with conversions. So we can see here we're optimizing this offer based off of the brand's archetype. We make sure it's delayed. We basically make the offer very, very prominent in all the designs. Look at how this text dominates the other text on the screen. You know exactly once you look at it what's in it for you. We can also see that the sequence is very well optimized here too, right? So there are some other strategies here because we don't just want to grow a massive email list. We also want to grow a massive text list. So one thing we're going to do here is we are going to try and push people through email campaigns into our SMS list. If we can even get a couple hundred subscribers like this every month, if we're doing that every single month for 12 months, we'll reap huge dividends when we have revenue peaks each quarter or when there's Black Friday or whatever it is. This is a great example of an email you can do here to your list. Just push people over to your SMS. You're like, hey, we figured that since you like getting our emails, so you probably like getting our texts as well. That's something that works really, really nicely too. So first step, your list is now growing. It's now growing at a really strong rate. What we got to get you to do now is make yourself a really pretty email design template, which I'm now going to show you how to do. So we're growing, we need to get sending. Before sending, we want our building blocks to be in order. So what we want to do here is make a really strong email template. We want to position ourselves correctly in the customer's mind, and having really strong design helps us to do that. The number one thing that you want to do with your design is you just want to make sure you have a really good structure to the email. A well-structured email where all of the individual components don't necessarily look the prettiest will always basically outperform an email that has pretty design elements within there, but the structure is all wrong, right? So we want to make sure that the structure is designed to be clickable first. That's the first thing we want to do. And then if we have a pretty email from there as well, that's even better, right? But prettiness does not equal conversions, right? So we're pulling this little meme here for you. We got someone here who says, I put a call to action above the fold and had good email structure. We see someone here who says, but I remade every section and used unique dividers to make the email flow and 4 paragraphs of copy. And then you got this guy here at the other side saying, I put a CTA above the fold and had a good email structure. This midwit meme comes up everywhere in life, really, but you can see here, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. This guy also doesn't know what he's doing. This guy has come through and he understands all of this complexity and he has sort of integrated it into his mindset, but he ultimately knows that simplicity is what converts. You want to be this person where you understand that you could make things super, super complex, but ultimately simplicity is the most intelligent thing you can do here. You can see this video on our YouTube channel. I actually designed an email live for Ralph Lauren right there. So you can see me doing that in Figma. I'm going through the principles of design, helping you do that, but I'm also going to show you here the principles of good design. We want to first focus on a clear visual hierarchy. So that's kind of what I'm talking about from a structure POV. You can see these kind of bits and bobs here as well in terms of how we do that. So we just want to make sure that there's nice contrast within the email. So people can look at different sections and they can instantly look at with their eyes. Because each section is so different, they can see the contrast. They know what's a section, so they can scan and don't actually have to read the email. And we also just want to make that super clickable. We want the CTAs to be super, super obvious here within all the sections. We then optimize for mobile, maintain brand consistency. This kind of leads into the structure as well, because typography enables us to create contrast. If you have a serif font and a sans serif font, they naturally look different. Your eyes, without even having to read, can tell that there's a difference there, and it can just sort of fall down the email without expending any effort. If you look at a long block of text where the font is all the same in any email, you look at it and your eyes just glaze over because they have to expend energy to read it. But if the fonts are kind of different and play off one another and create contrast, they're very easy to see. Personalization, strategic use of white space. We don't want there to be too much going on in the email. We want to be using white space so that people can scan very easily, that the email can breathe, and then engaging CTAs, making sure it loads quickly, and then kind of using a couple of things in the visual and emotional appeal. I want to make this guide a little bit shorter so you can look at the design guide on our YouTube and look at me design that email for Ralph Lauren live using these principles. It's pretty cool. But essentially from here, this is how we're going to make really nice designs, right? We're going to show you some good emails and some bad emails now here too. Look at this, where we have contrast. You can see between different sections a really clear call to action really high up the email, which is going to help us click it. Look, there's not too much going on here, right? Like we're not trying to cram too much into the email. There's breathing space. You can see here with the use of different colors and kind of different typography that you can sort of just glance at the email and kind of see or kind of get the message roughly here. We're using different colors, different typography, and that kind of contrast, and we get a nice CTA. This isn't fully export properly in Figma, but in Klaviyo, we use the Klaviyo CTA, so it was all fine. And look at this here, right? This one, I actually even prefer, again, this one that we built out for a client. Look at this, call to action right above the fold, and you get the full message just in the headline. In the headline alone, you get the message. We're saying to people to buy it in summer. We're saying it's actually, the best time to buy in summer. And we're trying to do this because obviously buying radiators in, the summer, well, you really buy radiators in the winter. They're kind of a winter purchase. Someone could actually see this, get the message and click without even having to read any of this. Like, that is a good email. That is good email design right there for you. We see here why buy in summer, and you can see just contrast, different typography, the use of images, and look, there's just not too much going on here. You see so many emails where it's all just crammed in and it's really heavy on the eye. It's really difficult to kind of fully get what's going on here. And then here, just nice, clear, directed call to action. This is really what an amazing email looks like. This to me is a 10 out of 10. So really, really happy with that. So those are two really nice emails that we made for clients. Let me now show you some not so good emails from some lists that I'm on. So we have this from Leonita, and you can kind of just see here, why is this not so good of an email? Well, there's no call to action above the fold. It's quite a long hero section. I guess I do kind of get the main, kind of gist of the message if I open it up here, but it's kind of messy. There's can't just like fall down the email. The call to action is a little bit tucked down. It should be a little bit higher. The fonts, I feel like they're a little bit messy. Not to kind of take this email apart fully, but I kind of look at this and it just doesn't flow. It doesn't look very, very nice. It could have done maybe decently, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of think it's just a little bit of a clunky email. We go here. It's kind of tough to read this, like this 15% off everything is the main message, and it doesn't stand out whatsoever. CTA here is probably a little bit low down, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice and short and to the point. There's nothing I can click here, right? Like if I like these products, there's no button here for them, so it's not like directing me to them. Like if we go back to this email at the top, if you want to buy like this exact product, like, and this is a recommendation for you, it shows you this product and then it gives you a button right beneath it to go and check out the product. But here, these are just without buttons. It's like, why are these here? I mean, we could put a CTA beneath these and say shop all deals now. That would make sense. Here is just a couple of things here that don't fully make sense for us to have in here. We now know how to design a template that is structured correctly, that flows properly, and that gets across the entire message. What we're now going to do is make a couple of automations and show you guys how to build those out. So getting into the core flows, these are an enormous part of the overall strategy. Your list is now growing quick. You have a strong design gold standard to sort of base your subsequent emails on. With the newfound leads entering your Klaviyo account, you want to welcome them in the best way possible and maximize conversions in an automated fashion. We're going to be going through 4 hugely important flows here as a result, which are going to be the welcome series, the browse abandon, the abandoned checkout, and the post-purchase flow. We're going more in depth with the content strategy in the welcome series and kind of the abandoned checkout. out. I'm going to actually link you guys to some other flow guides that we have here, which are super duper helpful, which are also on the channel, right? The welcome series, there are 3 things we want to do in the welcome series. We want to maximize revenue from email 1, build the brand in the customer's mind after this, and then recoup as much revenue as possible from the least engaged people towards the end of the flow for maximum efficiency, right? So we have 3 distinct phases here. Here, this is almost like hot potato, give them the offer and go. The middle bit with building the brand in the customer's mind, this is kind of where we can get across more of a story for those people who aren't so sure just yet, and recouping as much revenue as possible from the least engaged people towards the end of the flow. That's the creme de la creme. If we can get a lot of efficiency out of that end of the flow, if we've already scooped up all the conversions we're getting in the beginning and the middle, if we can get a lot of conversions here at the end, which very few brands do, we have an elite welcome series on our hands, right? Now, within the content, in order to do this, you can go far broader than you may think, provided you build status, trust, and belief. This is something I've spoken about in the channel before, and I'm going to show you some examples where status is really about positioning. Look at this. We're made in LA, as seen on. This is really positioning ourselves as a really top brand. We then have trust, which is more so about kind of showing behind the scenes stuff, as you can see here from Represent, and then also showing our reviews. So just showing that we're a reputable business. Then belief. Belief is really built through demonstration by showing the products, right? So we can show before and after here, in this case for Peach and Lily, or we can kind of do an us versus them, in this case for Disco, where they're kind of comparing themselves to other brands who put a lot of nasties and stuff like that into their skincare products. These are the 3 things that we want to do. Virtually anything that does this, that builds status, trust, and belief, can go into your welcome series. Like if you wanted to show off an office tour, or like meet the team, or a warehouse tour, or something like that, that builds status, trust, and belief. Even though very few people would ever put a warehouse tour in their welcome series, you can see that that can go in there. So don't just look at other people's welcome series and think, right, here's like a 4 email structure that everyone's doing, right? Like look at that status, trust, and belief. Look at your brand and look at how you can use those principles, not the tactics, to position yourselves differently, right? So I will show you some really nice welcome emails. Welcome to New Balance, really clean email, nice directed call to action here. You know, for a brand like New Balance, it's obviously an enormous global brand, kind of don't really want to be going with such direct marketing necessarily. If you're a fashion brand, you're obviously not going to want to be marketing like a CPG brand. Brand backstory and values, would want to make this email more clickable, but I think it's a lovely email here from Hawthorne, just nice and simple. Like you get like the full gambit on like what the brand is all about. Email 3, benefits, reviews, community. You can kind of see this from AG1. Really, really nice email. Looks super, super clean. Letter from the founder then. Like I really love this email here. Really nice and to the point. You can see like kind of a nice directed call to action. Emails 5 and 6. This is kind of more in the efficiency phase. We've gone through like a nice clean kind of email 1 that's nice and short, that doesn't do too much storytelling in the beginning. We just give them kind of their code and go. We then do the brand building in the middle, and then towards the end we can go from here. So you can see that this goes from a $50 off orders 1,000 and above to a $100 off code here on orders 1,000 and above. And you can see here, this is just to get that last bit of efficiency. This is just for people who haven't yet bought. And this is why we like going with the low offer on the pop-up, like we were showing you guys just earlier, because it gives us room to kind of grow into this and get more efficiency towards the end of the welcome series. This flow is essential. We have a full welcome series guide on the channel, which you can check out, of how we went and changed a welcome series for one of our clients that was doing 124K a month and built it into a monster that was doing 273K a month in just 30 days after us having built it. So more than double the revenue there. You can see an exact example of how we built this out for one of our clients on the channel. We then go into the browse abandoned flow, which is kind of more about talking about USPs, making it nice and long, using Trojan horse emails and kind of emails that kind of indirectly sell. We want to talk about our unique selling points because they're not yet fully sold. We want to use a number of different emails to kind of tell our story. You can use a lot of the content that you use in the welcome series here actually. And then in terms of Trojan horse emails, these are emails that indirectly sell. So you could have like 3 reasons to buy from us. We're the customer demographic also. Like we started this because we couldn't find the products that we wanted. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews if you do. Number 3 is that your offer is expiring, right? We have a full flows guide on the channel as well, where you can check this out in full depth of how we actually build out these browse abandoned series. You can just search for that on the channel and will actually be linked at the bottom of this card also too. And you can see all of that there. Going into the abandoned checkout, much like the welcome series, there are 3 principles within an abandoned checkout. They're just different than the welcome series, right? So the first thing is to handle objections, which we can see us doing here, which is just calling out all the reasons they may not yet have bought from us, and then kind of calling out why those things aren't an issue. Like look at this email, for example, where we actually call out all of the reasons that they might not buy it and then show why they're actually not issues. Then go to showing social proof within emails like this, just showing off our reviews, showing off like actual customer reviews like this as well. Actually, these screenshots, an ugly screenshot can do a lot for your brand, let me tell you. Then kind of have understanding structure. Let's say you offer free shipping above a certain cart value. You can segment the flow to highlight this so people who are above the threshold can know they have free free shipping. This massively increases conversion rates. And then also with your repeat buyers, you don't really need to discount. Post-purchase flow, once again, we want to split this by the number of purchases that the person has made. If someone's bought once versus if they've bought 4 times, these are completely different customers for your brand. We want to be treating that person who's bought 4 times a little bit differently because, well, they've purchased 4 times. They're quite a big supporter of the brand. They spent a really generous amount with us over a decent period of time. So we want to acknowledge that. The main principles are that we're going to split this out. We're going to thank people genuinely. If they're not subscribed to SMS, we want to try and push them over to SMS. It's a great time to get SMS subscribers and get them primed to buy again by kind of giving them guides, giving them a bit more education on the brand, why we began, when the products are going to arrive, how to use these products, and so on. We have a full flows guide here where I show off all of the example emails that we pull in here, which is on the channel. Really good stuff. It's actually gone up now since this point, but at that time, nearly a year ago, how our flow system was doing over $6 million a month for our clients. So you can go and take a look at this. It's obviously going to be in the doc down the description as well here. So a quick recap. We have seen how to grow our list. We've seen how to make a really good email design template, and now we know how to make core flows. The next thing we're going to be looking at is a campaign cadence, how we can get really solid campaigns out consistently to keep driving revenue, retention, and everything. Really important topic to understand is how often should you mail your list. Now, every brand is different and they kind of have a different level of like elasticity with their lists. Like some people can mail their list like virtually all, like nearly every day of the week. You know, this is kind of a different function of like the category that they're in, the demographic that they're selling to, how quick their list is growing, all that kind of thing. But campaigns are basically one-off sends that you'll have to your list, and they're what many people call like newsletters or email blasts. They should be about 50% of email revenue, so we gotta get this right. Email campaigns do some really good things. They drive revenue, which is more obviously incremental than pre-purchase flows. They keep hard-earned buyers engaged with the brand, and they build the brand status in the customer's mind. So we'll go through these one by one, right? So keeping people engaged and building status, these actually work really well together. These basically come down to content strategy and kind of the types and styles of campaigns. We use these to keep people engaged and build status, right? So campaign types and styles, the 2 broad campaign types I want to show you guys today are evergreen campaigns and promotional campaigns. Evergreen campaigns have the following 3 characteristics. They're discount free, they can drive revenue, and they can be used at any time of year. That is an evergreen campaign. This is what we really want to be building our email strategy around for our newsletters, right? Promotional campaigns usually be used less frequently and normally fit the following categories, like sales, Black Friday, kind of product releases a little bit, but product releases are kind of more in that evergreen category as well. It's just that they're a massive revenue generation opportunity. We recommend at least 80% of your emails don't fall into the promotional category. This trains your list correctly, makes them go berserk when there finally is a sale. So this sweetness analogy I always use, if you're used to having 6 cubes of sugar in your cup of tea and then you have a normal cup of tea, you drink it and it doesn't really do anything for you, or you might actually even well be repulsed by it, right? But then if you're not used to drinking tea with sugar, and let's say you are in the reverse situation where you then take a sip of that tea with 6 cubes of sugar in it, well, you're going to have quite a violent reaction. You're going to be like, wow, this is quite amazing. Or you might be like, well, it might be too sweet for you, but at the same time, the reaction you have is like, wow, this is far different to usual. This is amazing. And you'll probably want to down the whole mug of tea. We want to kind of be in the latter category where we're infrequently giving people that sweetness. We don't want to be giving them that all the time. I'm not saying never give offers. I'm going to be going through this in some of the brand archetype stuff I'm going to be posting on the channel for you guys here. Definitely subscribe not to miss that. It's going to be really important for understanding how to do email marketing for your brand specifically in a way that I've never seen anyone talk about it. But we just want to give these offers with good reasoning, essentially. Some evergreen ideas, new arrival showcases, how-to guides and tutorials, customer success stories, trend insights, product comparison guides, exclusive access previews, behind the scenes sneak peeks, expert sessions, lifestyle content, interactive content, and polls. So we have a full quarterly calendar guide in here, which you guys can basically check. You can click on this link. It's going to be in the doc down in the description, like we said, and you can build out a full calendar for an entire quarter. How cool is that, right? I won't go through this because you'll be able to see this in the doc in the description. I don't want to make this video an hour long necessarily, but this is how you can build out a calendar, right? Our internal calendars are quite complex, but that's because we manage email and SMS for a lot of big brands. So it's a little bit more complex internally to do that. If you're running things by yourself for your brand, use this one below. It's going to be super good and easy to use and to manage that in Notion, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are using. We then get to something a little bit different within our campaigns. Now we know how campaigns work, what to send, but how do we know who to send them to? This is a big thing I want to go through with you guys. I want to give you guys a quick overview of segmentation. So these are the core segments: our engaged segments, our VIPs, our can receive marketing segment, our unengaged segment, and our bounced email segment. We're going to be using these for differing purposes. This is how I build out one of these engaged segments, and then you kind of just vary up the time horizon pricing on these. So you change all the 14s to 30s to make it 30-day engaged. Same thing for 90-day engaged or 180-day engaged. And you should kind of lead to you having this kind of built out system like this, right? Where you have this full suite of engaged segments. We often split these out by people who haven't purchased and people who have. So NC and RC, like non-customer and returning customer. And then we can kind of see here, you know, people who are in different categories as well. These are our engaged segments that we're going to be using. We then have can receive marketing and these kind of unengaged segments here, right? So we'll go through the unengaged stuff first. We can see here this bounced email segment. This is how we would build that. This is a segment we want to be suppressing all the time. People who fit these criteria are not people that we want to be emailing really ever. And then can receive marketing. This is our whole list. This is all the people who are available to receive email marketing. You can see a nice big juicy list here in this client's case. This segment can receive marketing is used a lot more during Black Friday, particularly if your deliverability is really good. That's really the big change there, is that you generally will be sending to more people on Black Friday. We did a Black Friday recap video on the channel as well, which you can take a look at because some things really did change the year just gone from a segmentation POV. But this is really the full suite of segments you want to make. If you're in a really good spot with deliverability, you should be able to mail this segment here with 40% plus open rates. That is kind of our litmus test. That's our gold standard. If you're able to mail that 180-day engaged segment and you're able to see these metrics here, you're in a really good spot. If you can see here that these aren't going down and the amount of revenue driven per campaign isn't really going down much at all, you can probably increase volume. So this is what I'm saying. Some brands have more elasticity than others. Some could mail their list 4 times a week. Some could mail it twice. You just really need to test out here and see how your metrics look per campaign. With the ideas that we have and who to send to, we now want to know what to test. How do you make these campaigns incrementally better over time? You really do want to test something every send in order to gain valuable insights, right? So this would be kind of about send times, subject lines, hero images, kind of heavy design versus more text-based. These are the first two I'd always go for, would be send times and subject lines. These are the main two things that we want to be testing. It would also apply to flows, but we're obviously in the campaign section here, but you kind of just want to test here timing between emails and offers. So we can see here, we'll always test something like send time, and we can see here that this has beaten out the other a little bit. I wouldn't call this super duper conclusive because it's just like 800 more openers. We'd probably have to test that like a couple more times. We'd have to test over a number of different sends, but basically here for tests, send times and subject lines are really high leverage tests basically to make, because you can just make the same email and you can just kind of test those over a number of different sends. And what I would say with send times, that's my favorite thing to test. It's a really good thing to figure out is when the best time to send for you is. Start with big gaps and make them smaller. So start with 9 a.m. versus 7 p.m. See which one wins, tighten the gap, bring it closer to the winner, and then keep doing that until you converge in the best time possible to send campaigns, right? So always look to test something in your campaigns, at least one thing. And over time, you'll be getting more and more insights on your list. And you can kind of just keep a log of all of these tests. But even just in your head, if you can keep an eye on what's been winning all the time, you can kind of just be getting these insights about your CRM all the time and how your lists kind of react to what you send and when you send it. We know how to grow our list. We know how to make a great email template. We know how to make strong flows. We know how to send campaigns, and we know how to test things within those campaigns. Now we want to make sure that we're always going to the inbox, which is going to be deliverability. We want to remain on top of this at all times in the account. There's no point in having amazing list growth, flows, campaigns, design, and copy only to have your emails land in spam. We do not want that. If your deliverability is in a little bit of a poor spot, there are a couple of things you can do immediately and a couple of things you can do more long term. The first thing we want to do is send exclusively to a 14 or even 7-day engaged segment if we're trying to fix this. This inflates our engagement rates on the emails, and it makes us look like more of a reputable sender to these inbox providers, so that when they see these metrics and they see, oh wow, this brand is a very reputable sender because everyone's opening their emails and clicking on them and so on and so forth, they will be more likely to send us to the inbox in future. So your deliverability from this perspective can either be a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle. The better it gets, the better it can get. The worse it gets, the worse it can get. Not very good, but if we want to get out of a vicious cycle and into a virtuous one, we need to stop the rot by sending to a very tight engaged segment exclusively for a couple of weeks. Once we see our open rate spiking there, we'll start to gradually expand and go into a wider engaged segment. So we'll go from 7 to 14 to 30 to 60 to 90 to 180 until we're seeing that with the fabled 40% plus open rates. These are the shorter term things. The longer term things are to delete dead subscribers. So this is using that bounced email segment, the unengaged segment as well. People who haven't really been opening at all. These are people we'd look to clean out of the CRM. Redesign the email templates to put in some real text and real buttons. Solicit replies and whitelisting. Ask people to respond to your emails, and then increase sending volume. Counterintuitively, once your list is back from the dead, you actually want to increase sending volume rather than decrease it, because it gives people more opportunities to engage with you. Now, the caveat, the emails actually have to be good. You need to be getting quality and quantity correct here, but you actually want to slightly increase, not decrease your volume after this. A lot of people get that wrong. They think, oh God, I need to completely shut down how often I'm sending to people because they're getting annoyed. No, it's you just need to send better emails, fix your reputation in ensure that you actually are inboxing. And once you're sending better emails, once it's fixed, you'll be keeping those engaged segments nice and big. So once again, when sending normally, aim to hit that 180-day segment with 40% plus open rates. As well, just to keep that segment growing and keep it bigger, hit the entire list. That kind of can receive marketing once per month to try and pull people back into the engaged segments, because if they open or click that email or they're active on site or whatever it is, they will then get pulled into the engaged segment. So that'll grow over time. Give VIPs exclusive offers where possible, and if open rates dip, go back to the beginning of the section and follow the process again and send to a tightly engaged group of people for a short period of time. More in-depth guides on all of this can be found in our full course video, 5 hours of extremely quality content, which you can find on the channel too. So don't be in despair if you don't see all the details here. It will be in that 5-hour course video. So that is the quick and dirty on how we generate millions and millions of dollars for our clients every single month from email marketing. If you enjoyed this guide, you can join our newsletter where you get 3x free weekly guides sent right to your inbox. You can connect with us here on different social platforms. And if you're a brand doing at least 100K a month through your Shopify and you need more help, you can book a quick chat with us right here on this scheduler. If you want to get super in-depth analysis of all of the things that we brought up in this video today, you can check out a 5-hour long course that we've uploaded to our YouTube channel for free right here. I'll see you there.